Hello my friends, welcome back and happy Friday to you. You did it. You know what? You survived the whole week. So did I. But a lot of things didn't. A lot of Russian things didn't. And you know what else didn't survive the week? Swedish neutrality. That's right, because Sweden yesterday officially joined NATO. No more ratifications to wait for. No more Hungary or Turkey's fighting against it. The signatures have been given. Sweden is officially the 32nd member country of NATO. Now, there's a lot of memes about this immediately, and we'll go through them. I just want to open up this topic a little bit because it's no small thing. It changes everything. Not a lot, but everything in the Northern European security, especially in the Baltic states and in Tallinn, Estonia, where I am right now. Looking outside of my window, 250 kilometers from where I'm physically located, which is what, 150 miles, is Russian border. So for me personally, having a mortgage, having an apartment, having children in this country with my wife, it changes so much for me. Now, my friends, to illustrate it in the most simple and robust way why Swedish joining NATO is so big of a deal, look at this. 3 Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and then we have Kaliningrad, Russia, and Belarus. This Suwalki Gap right here, the distance is about 80 kilometers, and if Russia were to attack the Baltic region, they would firstly try to close the Suwalki Gap. Now, the NATO's idea to defend the Baltic states before was to re-liberate the Baltics, that Russia will definitely take us, but the NATO troops will re-liberate us. But now the things have changed, because let's zoom out. Russia can close the Suwalki Gap, but we have Finland and Sweden both in NATO, making the Baltic Sea, as they call, NATO Lake right now. And what's the most important strategic place, physical place, island in the NATO Lake? That is this Gotland. They call it the stationary aircraft carrier. Whoever controls Gotland controls the majority of the Baltic Sea and all of the routes. And right now, since the Suwalki Gap is Poland and Lithuania, Russia has no transport, military transport to Kaliningrad, so they have to do it all via St. Petersburg, and the narrow way they're allowed to do that to Kaliningrad Oblast. Now, this is very much threatened by Gotland because Sweden is remilitarizing the island, and truly it is an aircraft carrier because, as we know, Sweden is one of the biggest weapons manufacturer in European soil. They produce their own jets, for Christ's sake, Saab Gripen, and they are stationed in Gotland. Finland is buying 60 F-35s in the coming years. So we have Saab Gripens in Gotland, Finnish F-35s 50 kilometers from my capital, where I'm right now in Helsinki. And then, if you zoom out, you see the Baltic state situation is not that dire anymore. My security, my family's, my future children's security just raised to the moon, stonks as they say. I'm very happy about it. Happened on Friday, my energy is all spent with the week, and now I got a new boost. Thank you, Swedish people, for doing this. Also, this Gotland, this stationary aircraft carrier, as they call it, it's not only an aircraft carrier. The distance to the Latvian soil, the closest point is 200 kilometers, which is what, 90 miles, 100 miles, something like that. Very close. So if there's any border tensions with Russia on the Baltic states' borders with Russia, troops from Gotland, Swedish troops, and now that it's in NATO, of course, Finnish and Norwegian troops can also be stationed in Gotland, can be transferred to the Baltics within hours. Within hours. It doesn't take days anymore. Also, with Sweden joining NATO, the biggest thing is they have promised to send a whole battalion, a whole Swedish battalion into Latvia, the center Baltic states right here. So there will be troops in Gotland, a Swedish battalion in Latvia. In my eyes, our situation is very much stonks. Now, one more thing. Swedish officials have hinted that after they join NATO, and if they're allowed to join NATO, they would have a strong interest in sending their own Swedish-made Saab Gripen fighter jets to Ukraine. Now, of course, they wouldn't send the newest ones, they would send the older versions, but the thing is, Saab Gripen is a Swedish export. It's an export weapon system. It's a fighter jet, a very capable one. They're interested in selling it, and you cannot sell a weapon system efficiently if you haven't proven it in battle. And the biggest war going on in the world right now is in Ukraine. So Sweden has every interest as a NATO member and as a weapons exporter to send their Saab Gripens to Ukraine right now. Basically, to be an additional state, an additional platform to next to F-16 Saab Gripens in Ukraine. If they perform well, a lot of countries would be buying them. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, because F-16s, they're very capable, but only dozens will be sent. We're not talking about hundreds here. So Saab Gripens are very welcome. Also, the Swedish-made CV-90, the infantry fighting vehicle, has really proven itself on the Ukrainian battlefields. In Estonia, we right now have CV-90s. They're very good vehicles. Now, my friends, I'll again use Anton Herashenko, a very, very nice analyst from Ukraine, and I really respect him for his go-to short summarizing information. I love bullet points, and he always gives me bullet points, so thank you. Дякую, Anton Herashenko. Now, in this one of his posts, I want to illustrate the fact that NATO leaders and European leaders need to grow balls. We're right now following Putin's guidelines, Putin's red lines. Oh, what to send to Ukraine, what not to send. Maybe we'll escalate. I don't want to escalate because Putin might get mad. What is this kind of attitude? I don't know why we have to run against that Russian clown. We make the rules. We must make. It's our continent, our soil, our union and our NATO. Our countries, our language. Why the hell should we play by his game? So now I'll read you bullet points what Russia is right now doing in NATO countries and on the European soil. And then we have to think again if we want to play this game that way. Because right now we are enabling. Russia can carry out strikes of various kinds, and these are the strikes they have been carrying out in the EU and in NATO countries. Strikes on critical civilian infrastructure in European NATO countries. Russian missiles can accidentally fly into the airspace of NATO country and each time reach farther and farther. This has happened into Romania, it has happened into Poland, and in Poland there already was 2 casualties directly because of a Russian stray missile into Poland. On both times there was no reaction and no escalation from the NATO countries, which in my eyes is a sign of weakness, and I know in Russian eyes also. Russia can and has already interfered in elections, also in the United States elections in 2016. This came straight from Prigozhin's mouth. I remember covering the story. We have interfered in the elections and we will in the future. That's quote from Prigozhin before he died. They admit to it. Launch cyber attacks, leak wiretaps, especially the wiretap of the recent German officers speaking about how to destroy the Crimean Bridge. It was a real cluster F for the Germans. Crash and take control of social media, yes. Cut cables at the bottom of the seas. For example, the Baltic connect between Estonia and Finland underwater. A Chinese ship, its anchor accidentally cut the cable, which still has not been fixed. It was a huge issue and still is, and it's definitely connected to Russia. Blackmail with grain, oil, fertilizers, nuclear war, etc. Why do we allow ourselves to be blackmailed? You cannot just blackmail a person if they just don't go along with the game. We have gone along. We respect Putin's red lines. Why should we? We draw the red lines. We draw them to Putin. He will respect our strength. Corrupt and blackmail politicians, journalists and celebrities in the West. Spread propaganda. Push allies against each other, manipulate them, much like Poland and Ukraine right now, with the Polish farmers protesting on the border, sabotaging the border points, and they have infiltrated Russian spies and agents into those Polish farmers, creating more tensions between those two countries. Russia is doing all of these things very effectively. I think that we need to grow some balls. My friends, now great, fantastic news. Well, we started with Sweden joining officially NATO, very good news, but now even bigger news, because everybody knows from the first day of war, ammunition and especially artillery shells are the #1 shortfall in Ukraine. They need more, and if they have more, they can stop everyone who moves across the open fields. For example, in Avdiivka, it's no coincidence that Avdiivka fell when United States stopped sending aid. So, when Ukraine has enough weapons and enough ammunition, their defenses will hold, and they are very good in exterminating the occupiers. They have proven that to us. Why is it connected? Well, because yesterday the funds for the Czechia, not Chechnya, but Czechia, European country, Czechia's plan to send 800,000 artillery shells to Ukraine, the funds were collected. Now, Czechia's president suddenly came out a few months ago with a report that we have 800,000 shells, but we need funding, and then we'll send them to Ukraine in weeks. And one by one, European NATO countries have been joining this coalition, giving their money, and now the money is there. The money is big. I mean, we're talking billions. And according to Czech president, these 800,000 shells will be sent to Ukraine in a matter of weeks. So we're talking maybe one month, maybe 2 months. And this is no small thing. We're used to seeing these aid packets, 30,000 shells, 50,000 shells. Ukraine right now shoots out about 2,000 per day. Russia shoots out about 10,000 per day. Now, Ukraine is able to inflict insane losses with these 2,000 shells. If they would continue shooting out these 2,000 per day, this would be 8 months worth of shells. But if they want to exterminate the enemy more efficiently, they will start shooting out, let's say, 100% more shells, which is 4,000. That is still almost half a year, 4 to 5 months worth of shells to exterminate the enemy, with losses 1,200 KIAs for Russian per day, even more. So this is insane. This is big, very big. And I'm very glad this is happening. Also, if you are a Czech resident, citizen, I applaud you. This is a democratic country, and every politician's decision is made because he had been elected by you. Basically, your votes made this happen. Democracy works. Thank you. It's your collective responsibility. Thank you for it. My friends, now we'll jump to America, and I'm quite scared to do that sometimes because I have viewers from Trump supporters and I have viewers from Biden supporters. Now, I don't pick these sides. I don't pick Trump or Biden. I pick the independence of Estonia and Ukraine, and whoever delivers that and helps me, I'm with them. I don't pick these sides. But I watched the recent speech of President Biden in the State of the Union. It was a good speech, and I agree with all of the points, so I want to watch it with you. Now again, if you're a Trump supporter and see me watching this speech and you feel like, oh damn, Artur is sharing this, I want to click away and unsubscribe, calm down. Let's just watch it. I'm not picking sides here. I am standing for my country, for Estonia, the continuation of my language, my culture, my children, my traditions, and I'm fighting for Ukrainian freedom and independence. I'm not picking side or poking my head into United States internal politics. I'm just saying thank you for all you have done. And now just let's watch 1.5 minutes of a guy speaking the right words.
If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not. But Ukraine can stop Putin. Ukraine can stop Putin if we stand with Ukraine and provide the weapons that needs to defend itself. That is all. That is all Ukraine is asking. They're not asking for American soldiers. In fact, there are no American soldiers at war in Ukraine, and I'm determined to keep it that way. But now, assistance to Ukraine is being blocked by those who want to walk away from our world leadership. It wasn't long ago when a Republican president named Ronald Reagan thundered, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." Now my predecessor, a former Republican president, tells Putin, quote, "Do whatever the hell you want." That's a quote. A former president actually said that bowing down to a Russian leader. I think it's outrageous, it's dangerous, and it's unacceptable.
Now I will stop it right there, but I do agree with the message. Countries who are not next to Russia, they usually don't understand that the Russian way of diplomacy is force. It is just brute force. Any kind of words, any kind of diplomacy is a sign of weakness, not a sign of respect as it is in the European sphere, in the NATO sphere. A sign of force is the only respect and the language they speak, force. If you say do whatever you want, or if you appease them in any way or compliment them in any way, this is a sign of weakness and they will think you as weak and they will act accordingly. And Putin's actions definitely show right now that he's not afraid of the West. That is an issue because the West is a lot stronger than Putin. So what is wrong here? We're speaking different languages. The West is speaking different language from Putin. Putin takes it as a sign of weakness and acts accordingly. So now we got to improve our communications. If words are weakness to him, we got to show some force. Now, my friends, news that I would have never guessed I am actually speaking. It's about the Switzerland, the most neutral country in the world. They were in the Second World War even. Supposedly on paper they were neutral, but of course we all know that the Third Reich held most of their gold in Swiss banks. And if I'm not mistaken, then even the Soviet Union held a lot of the assets in the Swiss banks. So I don't see neutrality in there. And at all, I don't respect and value neutrality at all, because if they're suffering in your area and if you're neutral, you're already making a choice and picking the side which gains more from your neutrality. So in this case, Russia gains more from Swiss neutrality than NATO or Ukraine, which means in my eyes neutrality is not neutrality but pro-Russianism. So in this case, I'm glad to announce actually that Switzerland breaks neutrality. They officially don't say this, but the parliament right now approved a three-step process to start moving towards sending Russian assets to be used for Ukraine. And Switzerland has about 8 billion USD worth of Russian assets in the banks. So if they do that, they break their almost centuries-old tradition of even in great wars and both world wars keeping their neutrality and keeping even the warring states' assets in their bank. If they break that now, I'm all for it. Yes, and if you do it, thank you. But I gotta see it before I believe it, because they didn't do it with the Nazis. And if they do it now, my respect for Swiss people and culture grows 1 million points. Now I'll read you a quote, a Swiss quote. Russia has seriously violated international law. It must therefore compensate the damage caused. International discussions are underway regarding compensation mechanisms, and Switzerland is participating with its knowledge, its skills and its history in the area. I lost a lot of my respect for the Swiss banks and the Swiss country at the beginning of war. You know, being in Estonia, Finland was not in NATO, Sweden was not in NATO, and we were supposed to be next. I knew that in 30 days the Russian tanks are in Tallinn. So every day I woke up with that feeling. Fear. And I have to fight, I have to survive. And then I see Swiss banks and Switzerland as a country declaring neutrality and not allowing their ammunition to be sent to Ukraine, not allowing their weapons to be sent to Ukraine. For example, Gepard, the old German anti-air defense system, used at that time ammunition mainly produced in Switzerland. So Swiss blocked the sending of that ammunition, which directly translated in more civilian deaths because Gepard couldn't shoot down the drones because they didn't get the ammunition from Switzerland. Now this has all changed, of course, very positive, but at the beginning of war, Swiss points in my eyes went so low that they gotta now act to get the points back. Neutrality is not a strength in my eyes, it's enabling the terrorists. That's how I see the world. If you don't agree with me, put it in the comments. My friends, we have seen attacks against Russian factories, oil refineries. But in the recent 2 months, we have seen attacks that we have never seen before, which are against huge, and I mean like the biggest Russian iron factories, manufacturing plants and steel manufacturing plants. Ukraine has not deliberately focused down these before, but now they have changed their approach, focusing down these plants, trying to stop Russian steel and iron manufacturing capabilities, because of course we all know Russia produces a lot of BMPs, BTRs and T-72s, and they take a lot of steel and iron. So I guess Ukraine has now put them in high-value targets. For example, in Vologda Oblast, in the city of Cherepovets, a major explosion occurred at the Severstal metallurgical plant. Initially, the plant's management reported it as a technical accident, but later the official version changed to a drone attack. Social media videos show a very large explosion. This is the third attack on a major Russian iron and steel manufacturing company in a short period. The direct distance from the Ukrainian front line to its target is over 800 kilometers. Very remarkable, very nice. Therefore, it seems like that the drone or drones took off from somewhere near the factory, so on Russian soil, 800 kilometers away from Ukraine, meaning that Ukrainian SBU and GUR have intensive networks of sabotagers in Russia. Very worrying for Russia. If the drone came from Ukraine, this also confirms the almost complete absence of air defense deeper into Russian territory, both versions. If it was launched in Russia, 800 kilometers deep, or if it came from Ukraine. Both are extremely bad face for Russia, because one of them says that they have no air defense left, another one says that they have no internal control over their territory. So both horrible, and the fact that the explosion happened in such a necessary manufacturing area in the war is also horrible. Ukraine has proved to us, to the West and to Russia, time and time again that they have capability to produce very capable drones and to send them up to 1,000 kilometers deep into Russian soil and attack pinpoint accuracy very high-value targets and factories. I do respect that. That is a sign of force, and that is a sign and language that Russia understands and speaks. Now we in Europe and NATO, we need to learn that language. We in Estonia, we understand it, but I'm talking more about Western Europe right now. My friends, thank you for coming back time and time again. We survived this week together, so congratulations. A lot of good news came out this week. I'm so glad, and my stress levels went down with Sweden joining NATO. I hope yours also. I will see you again on Monday, so be back. Also, if you subscribe, please do also press the bell notification button, because it turns out you don't get the notification. Like, it doesn't show the videos otherwise, because it's a military channel. So just to be sure to notify the videos, press the bell. I'll see you again on Monday, and until then, Slava Ukraini, my friends, and bye-bye.
Дякую Артуру Рехі за те, що він отакий от чувак.
We ask Artur Rehi and his subscribers and charity fund 69th Sniffing Brigade to help us.
Бажаю здоров'я. 79-та окрема десантно-штурмова бригада висловлює подяку друзям з НАФО 59-й Sniffing бригаді. Особливу подяку Артуру Рехі за предоставлені прилади нічного бачення та тепловізори.
Вітаємо! We are the combat medics of anti-tank battalion of the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade. We are really need pickup truck for evacuation of wounded soldiers from the battlefield. So we kindly ask subscribers of Artur Rehi channel and charity fund 69th Sniffing Brigade to help us.
Hello, we are UAV operators of the K2 battalion of 54th Brigade, and we would like to thank NAFO fellows and Artur Rehi for this fully equipped truck.
Бережемо Україну, допомагаємо Збройним силам України. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Слава Україні! Героям слава!
Слава Україні! Героям слава!
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Слава Україні! Героям слава!
Glory to Ukraine!
Glory to heroes!